Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and we are looking at a film set at an athletic academy in which the students are Olympic hopefuls. What? Why didn't I do this one back during the height of the Olympics? Uh, well, I was doing the sci-fi films that month. Why didn't I just change it over to athletes? Um, Truthfully, I didn't think of it. And thank you for having that brought out. Anyway, uh, this is a 80s slasher, not one of the classics, but it does have an almost iconic villain in a javelin throwing killer. Uh, it's called Fatal Games, originally titled The Killing Touch, and then after release it was changed to Fatal Games, which caused some of the actors in it to not realize they were in a film of that title. And when people would come up saying they were a fan of the film, they would have no idea what film they were talking about until the plot was uh, reported to them. And as with a lot of 80 slashers, you got to have a big name of an actor that maybe not be as high profile as they used to be, like Glenn Ford in Happy Birthday to Me, or Betsy Palmer, who was more of a stage actress in Friday the 13th. This one, we have Sally Kirkland. Now, me personally, I kept getting her confused with Sally Keller, the actress who played the original Hot Lips in Robert Altman's MASH. But no, she was an actress who had been in The Way We Were, The Sting, and Private Benjamin. The only other fairly big name people to appear in it was Teal Roberts, who is best known for the sex comedy Hard Bodies, and Melissa Prophet, who did a lot of films for Canon like Action Jackson and Invasion USA, as well as smaller roles for Martin Scorsese in Casino and Goodfellas. Linnea Quigley is the cast list too, but she didn't have an actual part. She was listed as athlete, but actually she was the lead's body double because Lee didn't want to do nude scenes. Which is just as well, as she plays the final girl, and we all know what the final girl has to remain.
It's a virgin, stupid.
Exactly. So, our flick starts with a lot of Olympic style activities, gymnastics, weightlifting, running, swimming. And it's over the credits, and then we see a picture of the big hopefuls that are going to go on to state and maybe the nationals and then the Olympics themselves.
Falcon Academy of Athletics is proud of these young athletes who will represent us at the nationals competitions.
That will become important later, that shot of them. Meanwhile, the after celebration banquet devolves into some usual hijinks between the kids that ends up being a food fight. And then the next morning, two of them, let's see, it's Frank and Frank and Lynn. I believe that's correct. Let me just check the cast list here. big cast. Yes, Lynn. Frank and Lynn. Um, we get a lot of gratuitous nudity as they fool around on the bed and then in the shower. There's going to be a lot of shower scenes in this film so that, lots of naked flesh. 80s slasher. And with them being in the shower, it's not quite so gratuitous. Anyway, we get to another hopeful, Joe, who is not doing too well.
What are you, a ballet dancer? Keep that up, I'm gonna have to get you a tutu.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, the 80s, where the basic insult for a guy is to be called ladylike. We also learn that the doctor on staff is giving the kids a lot of stuff.
Diane, has he had his morning vitamins?
Yes, doctor.
All right, just start him on the new shots.
Nice bit of foreshadowing there with the ominous music about the shots. They just might be doping these kids. Oh, and the whole thing with Joe being a javelin thrower, that becomes more important when the rest of the gang wants to go out and celebrate over their going to the Nationals, when Nancy, being the champion-minded person she is, decides to stay behind and do an extra workout and ends up being skewered by a javelin to the wall. Kind of like that one scene in the kitchen in Halloween. The next morning, our lead actress, Annie, is looking for Nancy and can't seem to find her anywhere. And just coincidentally enough, Joe didn't go out with them that night either. Meanwhile, our nurse is voicing some concerns to the doctor of the program.
What we are trying to do is to maximize to the utmost the athletic potential of the human body.
Dr. Jardine, they are kids. They are kids. They are not guinea pigs.
Look, the East Germans and the Russians are doing the same thing. It's only in this country that we've neglected the scientific possibilities of the human body, and they're winning all the gold medals.
So, doping. Actually, this is fairly timely for the era. This was back in the early to mid 80s, and there had been concern. Russia was doping a lot of their Olympic athletes, with, especially their female ones, like their female swim team, and things where they were giving them steroids and testosterone and growth hormones and things. And so, yeah, very nice. But it also makes for a interesting possible motive for whoever the killer might be. Then we get the nurse giving Annie her massage, in which she gets a little too handsy at one point, which, Annie has the typical reaction of, oh, I think I gotta go. And she isn't the only one who seems to have an interest in the athletes. At least this one is consensual, although it is coach athlete, so that's a little iffy in and of itself too. Meanwhile, we get another gratuitous nude scene in the sauna, where we learn that Sue is going away for the weekend. Brother's having a graduation and she wants to be there, which makes it rather convenient when she is chased from the sauna, naked, throughout the halls of the now abandoned school, because it's after hours, and gets killed. At which point, Annie sneaks back in to get a textbook she forgot because she has this thing where she has to get her grades up or her dad's going to pull her out. And she really wants to stay because she wants, that attempt at Olympic gold for gymnastics. And then we get a really tense scene. Oh, there you go. Yeah, pretty tense. The next day, the staff is a little concerned. They've gotten a call from Nancy's mother. They don't know where she is. Wow. They know that she went off somewhere. And they don't know where. Either A, she got cold feet, B, she shacked up with some guy. And they're also concerned that Sue is missing, but that she's away at her brother's graduation, so she'll be back. There's some more melodrama with Phil, Anne's boyfriend, wins his race, and he now qualifies for the Nationals, so they can go together. Yay! And Lynn, she of course makes her winning swim, and she is now going to National, which does upset the coach's girlfriend, who she assures somehow, someway, she will get to Nationals too. And as Joe is javeling his way into improving, he gets eliminated from the suspect list. Heck of a shot. Pretty good distance. Killer must be an Olympian. Which is interesting because Joe's coach and the nurse go out for drinks, and we get some interesting details about the coach's past.
Back in '64, do you know how close I came to going to the Olympics? This close. Damn, it was good. On my last throw, I just missed.
Not that he's bitter or anything. Meanwhile, Annie learns that Phil's father has set him up with a tryout for a professional baseball team. She's not happy about that because they were going to spend the summer together, so they have a big fight and she storms off. After which, she gets a bad case of stomach cramps. And luckily, the nurse and the coach are there. And the nurse tells the coach not to call an ambulance. The doctor is not going to want anyone taken to the hospital and have their blood work checked. She calls the doctor. He says she'll be fine. Just get her to relax and rest, and she'll be fine in the morning, so the nurse takes her to her apartment, where we make another little bit of interesting history, this time about the nurse.
1936 Olympics. It's my mother. She won a gold medal.
So at this point, we realize the nurse really does have feelings for Annie because she's panicked that this is her last year to be able to get on the Olympics, or otherwise she'll be too old. And the nurse assures her that she'll do everything she can to help her get that spot. And they both tearfully hug. The next day, Phil and Annie make up. And Lynn's boyfriend, who's in gymnastics, has a really bad accident.
Control, steady, get those legs together. That's it, go for it. All right, dismount. Give me the dismount. Oh, God! Right, are you all right?
I don't know, clutching his leg, screaming at the top of his lungs. I'm sure he's fine. Actually, no, they have to take this one to the hospital. He's going to need x-rays. And it looks like his Olympic dreams are over for the moment. Or maybe forever. Moving on. While he's being taken out, he tells Lynn she's got to win for both of them. And she promises she will. So, of course, she's going for extra practice. Which in this movie is always a bad sign. Ooh, getting a little arty there. The next day, Frank returns with a cast that goes all the way up his leg. Wow. He did damage to himself for sure. And he's looking for Lynn. No one's seen her. But he gets really suspicious when her stopwatch is found at the pool. Oh, and remember that picture I said was important earlier on? Here's where it comes into play.
Where's Lynn Fox?
How did you know? I was just coming in here to tell you that she didn't show up for practice this morning.
So this is how I knew.
Almost as if they're being targeted. And then we get what I can only assume is a bit of foreshadowing. Chekhov's scaffold, perhaps? I mean, why else would they make such a display of having that scaffolding moved into place unless it was going to be used later in the film? Have to wait and see. Frank, that night, calls Phil. His suspicions are getting worse, and he wants Phil to break into the school with him so they can search the lockers of the missing girls. Phil agrees. Calls Annie, tells her what they're going to do, and she agrees to meet him at the school. Frank, meanwhile, being impatient, decides not to wait, breaks in through the window that's always open and everybody seems to know about, and then goes to the office, gets the list of lockers, their assignments, and their combinations. But when he opens that locker, suspicious. Why would her locker be cleaned out? So he traipses down to the basement storage area, where he finds some lockers have been locked. Luckily, there's a nearby crowbar that he can use to solve this little mystery. Wow. That's rather heartbreaking. The killer actually followed him down there. And so we get a chase. And even though he's got a broken leg and on crutches, he's still pretty speedy. But not speedy enough. Annie arrives by this point, and she enters the same way. Phil hasn't gotten there yet. Mighty suspicious, isn't it? Well, she runs headlong into the killer, and they get a prolonged chase because, after all, she's the final girl. And it culminates in a confrontation in the doctor's administration office. Close call, but she's not dead.
Is only mostly dead.
Exactly. Luckily, Phil arrives at this time, so he's obviously not the killer. Seeing how badly she's bleeding, he picks her up and runs her down to the nurses' station, where he starts calling out for her, and we get another surprise.
Diane, are you back there?
Yes, what's the matter?
Eddie's been hurt.
Put her on the table. Be out in a second. I'm just getting dressed.
Inconceivable.
I had no thought that it would be her, except for the fact that she's the top of the cast list and is the most well-known actor in the film. Anyway, changes into her nurse's outfit, and we get a bit of subterfuge on her part by telling Phil to go to the administration office and call an ambulance. And then while she's getting some sedatives ready, Annie makes a shocking discovery.
I'm shocked.
Okay, wait a minute. She leaves this important piece of evidence out for everyone to see. More to the point, how does this bit of revelation show that the nurse is the killer to Annie? Anyway, we get another prolonged chase that is highlighted by a villain monologue.
I can't stop him.
I cannot stop him, Annie. He must disqualify anyone who might ever make it. I have sacrificed everything. I have risked everything just to win. We even became a woman just to win.
Yeah, that kind of made sense. Split personality, became a woman to emulate her mother, his mother. Let's not dwell on that. More chase, and then Annie hides at the top of the scaffolding. See, told you the scaffolding had to be important, as does that trophy. Hoisted on their own petard. As slashers go, it's got some good points. Interesting choice of murder weapon, interesting kills, gratuitous nudity and violence. But the solution and reveal very much of its time and does not age well. Trans females became a very popular choice for villains in these kind of films. Was used in Dress to Kill by Brian De Palma, Terror Train. the Sleepaway Camp series without really understanding what trans really meant. And if we're fair, nobody really understood it then as much as they do now. Well, some do now. It's the whole split personality thing, though. That's a little odd. But then again, like Dress to Kill, it was, part of the genre that if you're going to change genders, you obviously have some mental issues. And the split personality is kind of an easy cheat to explain it. A male and a female in the same body. Come to think of it, there was a SVU episode that had a killer like that. Ironically, that actor went on to play Barba, the assistant DA, for a few seasons. Anyhow. Or, no, it was on Criminal Intent, and then he went to SVU. Anyway. As with a lot of these films, there's a lot of filler. It could be seen as character building, but nah. Although I did skip over a lot of the romantic interludes that kept cutting in. There's a prolonged sequence where Annie is taken to a surprise birthday party, and then she ends up going back to the apartment of her boyfriend. At which point we cut to a humorous moment in which we think they're having sex, but it turns out he's doing push-ups, a nightly routine for him. Although whether or not they do is left kind of in the dark. Tropes. And of course, Lynn and Frank have a lot of interludes with a lot of nudity because I guess they assumed that the mystery wasn't enough to keep people watching. And it's not that they don't try to pepper the film with suspects. Even the doctor at one point is shown to be sticking pins into insects for his collection. He likes to skewer things. Okay. But all in all, it's a average to below average slasher. I mean, it doesn't hit the heights of really good ones, in my opinion, non-holiday themed ones like Night School with Marshall Ward, really good one, or some of the aforementioned ones like Birthday to Me or My Bloody Valentine. A lot of the really, really early good ones that actually seem to be wanting to build a suspenseful film. And they make an attempt here, but it, on the whole, except for a few moments, like the one in the locker room I showed earlier, it doesn't really hit the nail on the head too much. Acting's kind of iffy, except for Kirkland, who, of course, goes all out at the end. With the deepening voice and everything. Yeah, kind of a lackluster slasher. But next week, really good one. You want to be there to talk about that one. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And stay after the credits for my favorite scene.
Haven't you had enough? How many is that?
97?
98, 99, 100. Oh.